Welcome to Difference Makers, the podcast that explores people making a difference across planet Earth. I am your host, Joni Readout. On this episode of Difference Makers, I'm taking a deep dive into the trends among my guests and why I'm on a mission to inspire people to light the fire within themselves to be a difference maker. I'm Joni Readout. I have been born and raised in Southern Iowa. I have spent the last 15 years of my career, my only career, as a teacher. I love every minute of it. One of my hopes with this podcast is to encourage people to think about the education field, how wonderful it is. It's challenging, rewarding, motivating. It's wonderful, and it's one of the reasons why I decided to start this podcast. I'm blessed and hopeful that the difference that I'm making in the lives of my students, the teachers I have the privilege to work with, my community, and all of the people that I have the ability to impact in a positive way, that's what I'm hoping to highlight through all the guests that I have on my podcast and what I'm hoping to get you to think about today. Senator Grassley and Bonnie both spoke about teachers being difference makers for them. How many of us can think about a teacher that made a difference in our lives? It's pretty remarkable, the interactions that we get to have and the lives we get to touch as an educator. And the reason why I started this podcast, I was fortunate enough to work with Wade Whitehead from Virginia. And through his mentorship, I spent a lot of time writing. And I spent a lot of time reflecting on what I was noticing as a teacher, what I felt like my impact was, what I was hoping my philosophy was around teaching. And at the beginning, I thought I was going to start talking a lot about teaching and learning. I have a passion for instruction. I have a passion for being super effective and that all kids deserve equitable education. All of our students deserve to have fantastic, amazing teachers in the classroom. But what I started to realize was, as I was doing that writing and reflecting, I tended to write and think more about the difference in the impact I was having on students in an intentional way, in an unintentional way, and also what I was noticing out of some of my colleagues and the missed opportunities for making a difference. So as Wade and I talked and brainstormed, one of my goals for myself is to share and inspire other people to think about, how are you a difference maker? We all have the ability, and I would even go so far as to say the obligation. It's a pretty strong word, but I do believe in that. I believe as humans, we have the obligation to choose, and we get to do that, how we make a difference in the lives of other people that we interact with. It sounds cliche, it's the little things, but that's what continues to be brought up by my guests. It's the little things. Rogo mentioned and shared the story about time, genuinely giving your time to someone. When a young private in the military needed his time, he gave it. And he continues to give it. Jamie Richards shared the story of noticing someone, saying hi to them in missions work. And that individual told her that was such a difference maker for her in a pivotal time in her life, life-changing, life-altering. Not that Jamie was expecting that. It was just what she did. It's what we do. I get a lot of compliments throughout my day, or I've had people tell me that, or ask. I had a student one time in class pretty abruptly say, "Why are you always so happy?" And my response has been, I've been asked that multiple times, more times by students, but I think adults notice too. And I said to that student, well, it's the choice that I make. I make a choice to be happy. Is it easy all the time? No. But the alternative doesn't sound very great. And he was just a little bit awestruck by that. And at that moment I thought, that's making a difference. They're noticing the way that I choose to interact with them. And it's in a positive way. And I'm intentional about that. Again, it's not huge earth-shattering things people are sharing of how they're a difference maker. There are things that happen in people's lives and people that do amazing things that we would consider to be difference makers. But I don't think we can only categorize that as, well, you have to do these heroic acts to be a difference maker. It's the little things. It's making the choice to be a difference maker and believing that it's happening. If I know their name, it's telling them their name. It's using eye contact. Making sure I'm not too busy to ignore someone walking by. And I think that's a little bit crazy now with so many distractions as we're out in public and we're interacting with people. But I think it's so important. Are we noticing each other? Greeting people is something that I learned from the difference makers in my life, my parents. My dad doesn't go anywhere, whether he knows you or not, without saying, "Hey, how are ya?" And then following up with a conversation. As a teacher, we often remind ourselves that we don't always see or feel our value until years later. Sometimes we see that impact day to day. I think you could consider that in lots of careers, lots of passions that you have. Thinking about your own life, it might not be that you see the direct impact of what you're doing in that second. You don't feel the validation in that minute. That also happens for the small differences we make in the lives of other people. They might never tell us. Senator Grassley talked about that. I don't know that I'm making a difference in someone's life unless they tell me. But I think when we make differences and we know we're making differences in people's lives or making a difference in people's lives, they'll tell us. Another trend that a couple of my guests have shared, Jamie specifically, shared how her boss encouraged her. I think that's so powerful. I think about a small situation recently that happened to me when I was line judging a volleyball game, and the volleyball official looked at me and said, "You would make a great volleyball official." I'd never considered that for myself. In the same story that Jamie had shared, encouraging other people. Thinking about, what are you noticing in other people that they maybe aren't seeing in themselves? Have you encouraged them? Have you noticed and told them what a strength is? They might be great at doing something. I think we need to do more of that. I think we need to do more of that with encouraging young people to be teachers. I don't know that everybody recognizes that they would be a great teacher, or the people that would be great teachers recognize that. The people that would be great nurses, are we telling them? People that would be great salesmen, are we recognizing that in those young individuals and letting them know, hey, you have these qualities that would make a great teacher? Talk about a difference maker. We don't always see our full potential, but others do. And we often see other strengths that they don't realize. My challenge to you is when you notice something in someone, let them know. Tell them that you think they would be great at whatever it is that you notice. It might be that little spark, that little fire that directs them down a path that they didn't even consider for themselves. Again, it's the little things. My challenge for all of us is to be aware and conscious of the interactions we have with one another, whether it be stranger, friend, foe, mentor, family, whatever the connection, and realize we can make a difference. How are you making a difference in the lives of others that you connect with? It's the human impact. Smile, make eye contact, greet them by name. Listen when we notice someone needs it. Jamie said if she had $1 for every time someone said to her, "I've never told anyone that before." Genuinely be open to giving up your time, as Rogo and Senator Grassley shared. Noticing and being blessed and fortunate for the people around you. Bonnie shared stories about that. She spoke multiple times in the podcast about how she's lucky to be surrounded by the people she's surrounded by. She shows that in her everyday actions as well. Who are you blessed to have in your life? When was the last time you told them? How can you make a difference in the lives of people around you? How are you already doing it? I would love to hear it in the comments. How are you making a difference in the lives of others? Or who is someone that's been a difference maker for you? We all have those people. And think about what's next. What did we maybe slip up on today? What have we forgotten about? What have we gotten too busy to think about in regards to making a difference for other people? Maybe it's with your own children. Maybe it's your coworkers, neighbors, strangers. It's my belief that we as humans have the obligation, and it's within all of us, to make a difference for other people. It's figuring out how we're doing it. It's taking advice from the guests on the podcast and thinking about, yeah, I can do that. I can be intentional about how I'm making a difference. My podcast is based on a Bible verse. Not based on, but something that I try to remember. And something that helps me to think about. We all as humans have the light, as Matthew 5:14-17 says. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Let your light shine. Spark the flame in other people. Be the fire for someone else that makes a difference for them. One of my favorite quotes so far from my guest Jamie Richards is, we do the things. Difference makers do the things. How are you doing the things to be a difference maker? We all are. We all have the ability to be a difference maker in the lives of others.